Right, so this has really taken me back to when I first started playing PC games. I played a little game called Command and Conquer. I think I actually borrowed it from a friend back in the day when I played it. And, well, the Command and Conquer universe or series is back. And first of all, to me, almost not like a game, this one. It's more like a service that you're launching out with sort of the second general content or game or whatever you like to call it. What could you just give us a little brief layout of the land, so to speak, with Command and Conquer these days?
Absolutely. So we took the Frostbite engine, which was created by DICE here in Sweden, and we adapted it to be a real-time strategy platform. But as you just mentioned, the key new innovation here is that the content doesn't stop at launch. Really, launch is the beginning of a continuing stream of new updates. So we're starting in the Generals universe. We're going to introduce new factions, new maps, new game modes over time. And eventually we'll go back using this same platform and revisit the Tiberium universe, the Red Alert universe, and even some new fictions that haven't existed before in Command and Conquer.
All right, this sounds very ambitious. I think because the game was first announced at Generals 2, and that sort of were taken a little bit aback when the free-to-play announcement came and all of that. Sort of, has things settled now?
Yeah, interestingly, we originally started with this idea of an ongoing platform, and we came to a point in time where we were thinking, well, maybe we'll just make it a general sequel. But we felt like we were losing something by going just that traditional route, because the continuing platform has a real benefit of incorporating player feedback and letting us iterate on the game over time, whereas the traditional approach, you kind of make your best guess at what players want and hope you got it right. So it took a little bit of courage, but at the end of the day, we felt like live service was the right decision to make.
So the General series has sort of been left behind while we've revisited Tiberium and Red Alert a couple of times over the last decade or so. What is it about the Generals universe in your mind that makes it the ideal universe to launch this new service in?
Well, two things. First, as you mentioned, Generals is the universe that it's been the longest since we've gone back to revisit. But I think the second aspect is that Generals really was a fan favorite, and so we got a lot of feedback through the forums and through direct emails that we get that players wanted us to go back. And I think there is something about Generals that was very special in Command and Conquer. It's perhaps the most near future, closest to modern warfare that we've got, and there's really a fascination with that as a setting.
That, of course, brings us to the fact that people were a little bit disappointed to hear that there was no sort of traditional campaign here. Well, how would you sort of, because you said you might want to launch it at a later date, you know, obviously that's something you're looking at. How do you sort of meld that with a sort of free-to-play concept and sort of keep everything in because you don't want players to sort of be too spread out over this service, do you?
That's true. Our thinking is that by starting with skirmish and multiplayer, we're going to have a chance to really nail the balance of the game and get the core set of features polished. From there, the hope is that we'll get to brainstorm new ideas, whether it's mini campaigns, whether general challenges, or other types of story gameplay modes that we haven't done before. In doing that, we'll give players the chance to give us feedback, and we'll try to really take that feedback to heart and give them what they want to play.
So we're really at sort of like the second generation of free-to-play games now. I think some of the pitfalls, we know about them, and if we want to avoid them, we can. How do you sort of navigate that landscape, and where do you feel that Command and Conquer does to avoid sort of putting too much grind in there, or you know, making it a little bit pay to win or such things?
Yeah, we're very conscious of not wanting to frustrate our players, so I like to think of the grind discussion as sort of two philosophical approaches to playing. Some people really enjoy the journey, Some people just want to get to the destination. So if you're somebody who just wants to get to the destination, it's okay to take a shortcut and to pay or spend points to get there. But hopefully for players who do decide to play the game over and over, it's a genuinely fun experience. We don't want to frustrate them. But the other point you raised that's very important to us is we don't ever want this game to be about outspending your competitor. So we're very careful with our matchmaking to make sure that no matter how you got to the experience level that you're at, whether it was through grinding or through paying, that you'll only be matched against players who have a comparable level. That way, when you play them, it'll be a fair fight, and there's no sense of pay to win.
Because usually when I play free-to-play, I'm the kind of player who I don't want to pay. I want to earn it. And oftentimes there are sort of like you get it into a pace of earning stuff. It's a little bit slow, but you get there, and then all of a sudden there's this huge hike to the next thing you need to get, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna stop playing this game. So is that something you're conscious of as well?
Well, I think it goes back to that point of not wanting to frustrate players. So as long as the game is fun and you feel like you're genuinely getting a return on what you've invested, whether it's time or it's money, then I feel like we'll have succeeded. But again, we'll need to listen to fans and make sure that we take their feedback into account. So it's going to be an iterative process to strike the right balance.
So what's the rollout now? I mean, we're obviously playing a game that's, you know, it's not complete, but alpha version, whatever that means. But what's next ahead, and sort of when will you start sort of inviting more players to join?
Mm-hmm. We're going to start closed tests this spring, and that'll start with a very small group, a closed alpha test, and eventually grow to a closed beta test that brings in more players and gives us more feedback to digest. Eventually, we're going to open it up into an open beta where we let anybody who wants to play come in, and we're expecting that to happen before the end of the year.
Very exciting. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.